Hey, hey. Hey, everybody. And welcome to the Saturday set. Today being July 2nd, 2021. I guess it's 1221. It's a palindromic date, isn't it? You know, a palindrome. Able was I ere I saw Elba. A man a-playing the canal, Panama. Something that's just numerical, but significant, I suppose, in that here we are plunging headlong into the future, but the news is still so retro that apparently 11 senators, Republican senators, are going to line up to try and obstruct the course of history. So who's a sore loser here? Everything has been shot down and invalidated vis-a-vis election fraud, and they're not going to go gentle into that good night, are they? So I've never really seen a situation like this where the country was so divided, and all I got to say is that Trump and company have done a great job in trying to negate reality and sow seeds of doubt everywhere. It's just so banana republic, is it not? That a once proud nation, well, proud of what? But let's say a nation that used to at least come together in a gracious kind of exchange of power ceremony, even when your favorites lost. They would shake hands and acknowledge their loss. It ain't gonna happen this year, folks. Not really, I don't think so, I don't see it. So, I don't know, I've got some premonitions, but I just want to be positive and wish all the best to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And I know every day there's some new nitpicking going on out there with their views in the press are dissected, or this group objects to this candidate because of this actions. And so, I don't know who's out there who's got the cleanest of hands. Do you? As Bob Dylan said once when he was being heckled, there's somebody out there looking for a saint. You know, in the great concert he did with the Hawks, I think, up in Liverpool. For years, people thought this was recorded in London in 1966, but he was being slow hand-clapped and get on with that. And someone yells out, "Judas!" and he goes, "There's someone out there looking for a saint." Well, anyway, I'm going to try and ameliorate things musically, and I'm going to go back to one of my favorite themes off of Pharoah Sanders' Karma album, which was recorded in '66, came out in '67 on ABC Impulse, and it's truly one of the greatest of the free jazz era's utterances. It was very influential on my tender teenage consciousness, and how I acquired it, I might have told this story before, but here it goes again. At that point, I was a public high school student, always public high schools. The opposite of the meaning in the UK. By the way, for all my British viewers, oh no, we were the first high school in America that had forced busing, where inner city kids were brought to the school in my second year there, and it caused some tension, but not among my little set of weirdos there. No, I thought it was very welcome. Anyway, in my homeroom, I had a guy named Wiley Johnson, who was the leader of the black fraternity organization, you might say, who were called the Soul Generation, and they were a charitable organization. They organized a series of raffles to pay for them to actually visit Africa after I graduated. And anyway, but Wiley was a badass, and I hung with badasses. We were all kind of transgressive in our own way. One day he showed up in the homeroom and he said, "Listen, I got a box of records here. I don't know where he acquired them. I guess they fell off the truck. But I'll let you have them for maybe it was $3. And in those days, a new record that was shrink wrapped was $6.98, maybe $7.98 max, which was a lot of money to us kids in those days. I mean, that was my pop money right there, at least, for the week. So I thought I'd go through, the shuffle of records that he had. And this Karma album really caught my attention. I very much liked everything that I'd heard coming from this sector in music, particularly the great A Love Supreme album by John Coltrane, and Pharoah Sanders plays on their record, and I knew his name. So I got it, and boy, I wasn't disappointed at all. I mean, you can't go wrong with this. Lulu agrees over there, don't you? Lulu is coordinating with Caroline. Anyway, I'm going to open with the first cut, The Creator Has a Master Plan. Peace and happiness for every man, and I'd like to think that it's still so, despite all evidence in the corporeal world to the contrary. Here we go. promise here really to do justice to this. I'm not that guy. Okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. The Creator has a master plan. Peace and happiness for every man and woman. We have to update these lyrics, right? Okay. Well, there you go. I love playing that. I find it soothing. And I hope you do too. I don't know. I mean, it's really getting down to brass tacks, isn't it? Because, if everybody really took the time to try and elevate their neighbor, I mean, not just like respect and love that neighbor, but do stuff, in the service of your neighbor and the community, would it not be a better world than just this endless kind of division and squabbling? But easier said than done. Anyway, it's a high-minded sentiment, is it not? But I really believe it. I mean, that's one reason I do music. And despite people looking at the numbers of hits or how many, I don't really care about the metrics. Well, maybe a little bit. I mean, one wants like the biggest audience one can muster. But maybe after doing this 3 times a week for 9, almost 10 months now, people are a little sick of it. But the fans who tune in, I love you guys. You are so wonderful. That's basically why I'm doing it, to cheer myself up and to cheer you guys up. And just to read your comments is so gratifying and heartwarming. It truly is, and keeps me going. Because the quest of a musician, let us say, that is not automatically in the pop music mode. And what does that constitute these days? Well, let's say as narrow a band as you could imagine. The qualifications are fewer and fewer. But one thing is for sure, it's let's face it, it's a young person's game. I mean, pop music. And it kind of always was, but back in the golden age, of which I recall with some clarity still, of the late 60s, pretty much anybody was a potential candidate depending on the zeitgeist at the moment. People were open to all sorts of things. I mean, do you remember instrumentals being played on the radio? An instrumental. It was the last instrumental that got programmed in any of the currently hot 100, or whatever format you might look at. I can't think of anybody who routinely plays instrumentals unless it's grazing in the grass or going back into the moldy oldies and good-timey feelings of songs like A Swingin' Safari by Burt Kaempfert, or the list is endless. I love instrumentals myself, and I still love playing them and writing them. And okay, well, this is a segue. Here's a real good one. On this album, The Ordeal of Civility, which is a title that I nicked from a book by Thomas Cudahy, the Catholic sociologist. A very good book. I recommend it. I won't go into it here. I think I might have already. But we do a song here called Whirligig. Whirligig, with a Y. That's one of the best instrumentals I wrote. Oh yeah, there's another one on there called Hot and Cold Everything. Maybe I'm going to post this afterwards. Which is, I don't know, it's something I'll have to play acoustically for you next time. But besides the pop music on the record, or the neo or would-be pop music, I think potentially all this stuff could be popular. Aspire to a condition of popularity, just in terms of survival. But who am I kidding? I do think though that my catalog is some of the great unheard music. It was largely unheard. And people were always saying, well, you got to write some new ones or write some old ones. Well, the old ones didn't get heard, so I'm still playing them. and hoping to catch your ear. Now, speaking of which, this is just a moment to plug this beautiful objet d'art, who thinks that these things could still exist. By right, they should be banished by imperial fiat. I mean, who collects CDs? Well, I haven't bought a CD in a while. I gotta admit, I haven't bought anybody's music in a while. I'm so remiss about that, and I apologize. I'll listen to it if people send it to me. But as far as the physical act of consuming it and purchasing it, not too much. But this is this was designed to sell at gigs. Now the gigs have more or less disappeared, have they not? And yet, I think if you took a flyer on this album, you would not be disappointed. All you guys, just for the sheer design wonderment, courtesy of Steve Byram, an award-winning graphic designer, an old friend of mine, and these sterling liner notes by Glenn Kenny, who, among other things, writes reviews for current films for the New York Times. And it's some of my best work over 40 years. The first thing on there, the oldest thing on there, I just posted, to tell you the truth, which is Flavor Bud Living, which was written by Captain Beefheart, Don Van Vliet. And there's a version of me playing this live at the Beacon Theater in New York City here, and which got a great response, as you can hear on the track, from the audience. And I know David Byrne was at that show. A lot of people were at the show. It was sort of on the crest of Beefheart's, one of many comebacks. There certainly was a lot of noise being made about Doc at the Radar Station, which was the album we had out at the time. But unfortunately for us, the week the album was released in September 1980 through Atlantic Records Distribution, they severed their distribution deal with Virgin, who had paid for the record and who owned the master of the record. So this album quickly disappeared from the Sam Goodies and the, what were the big chains? Strawberries, anything that was like a chain, you couldn't get it, which was, hard cheese for us, but we soldiered on. Anyway, the New York show was quite spectacular with James Blood Ulmer opening for us. And I've written an account of my dealings with, some of them anyway, with Beefheart and Frank Zappa in an upcoming, I'll say, issue. It's an online blog called PleaseKillMe.com. It's an excellent source for interesting and fascinating articles about music and pop culture ephemera. And a lot of your favorite people or artists are discussed there, I'm sure, exhaustively. So this will be published on Don Van Vliet's birthday upcoming, January 15th, which is also MLK Day. They shared a birthday. And so look for this thing on January 15th to go online. I'll certainly be posting it. But I really, I put a lot into this piece, and it could be at least 5 times as long as so many Beefheart stories, but I'm saving them. I'm sitting on some, but some good ones are in there that I haven't told you. So look for that. But anyway, well, that was an instrumental. So the first thing on the record, the oldest thing I should say, I didn't make the record sequentially. I didn't think that would flow very well. But the oldest track of me and my work, well, at least my interpretive skills as a guitarist, was performing this very difficult piece of music. For me to learn was a big knuckle-busting challenge. It sounds deceptively very easy to play, and most people who attempt to play it wrong. But it wasn't, and it sort of honed me, into, I sort of, earned my stripes on this piece and forced me into a new way of regarding guitar and what you could do with guitar. So check it out, because I posted this thing for Flavor Bud Living as a promo Happy New Year yesterday. I didn't really go into much description about it, but it's also on YouTube now. But anyway, I think I'll switch over. Oh yeah, wait, I gotta read the roll call of honor. And let's see now. I have some very, very nice New Year's cheer here from my New Year's Eve show. L.B. Rogers. Thank you. He's an old viewer, listener, aficionado. Dave Schultz. Dave Schultz, who I know going back to the great Trouser Press magazine. Dave's a great writer. Thank you, buddy. Colin John Campbell, I believe you're UK-based, as is the next name, John Alderman. Superb showing, you guys, and thank you so much. Mark Green. Mark Green is a perennial, he never fails to leave a significant tip in the tip jar. And Mark, anything you could do to organize a rally among these deadbeats? No, I'm just kidding. These voyeurs, I don't think you can do it. And then earn money and work online. And I forget who that is exactly. Maybe it's Stan Prover. And that was his pseudonym. That's funny. But all you guys, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And one more thing, okay. If you're looking for an exceptional gift, or you want to return a whole bunch of bad gifts that came in and trade it for something spectacular, check out this book, Stanley Kubrick Through a Different Lens, which is a compendium in a very large size of some amazing photographs that he took around the age of 17, 18, 19. He was a photographer for Life magazine here in New York, and I can't even know, it's so heavy, it's so sumptuously made. It's a Taschen book. They do amazing art books, erotic books. Benedict Taschen is a great guy. And, well, check it out, because it's endlessly fascinating. And I know I was discussing Robert Frank's work. I'd say Kubrick, while not in the same category as far as trying to be a self-conscious artist, achieved something miraculous with some of these photo series he did of like the circus in New York. He covered a lot of events. So I put him up there. I mean, in my triumvirate of photographers right now, it would be Ouija, who did the famous Naked City series of crime shots in New York. Stanley Kubrick for these Look magazine photos, which haven't really been seen often. And by the way, there's a really good essay by Luc Santé to further enhance your appreciation of his work. And then, of course, Robert Frank and the Americans, and pretty much anything he did after that, including his films. Pull My Daisy, for example, is just an amazing, amazing cinematic treasure. Okay, enough said. So I'm going to close with a piece of music played on acoustic guitar, another instrument. Now this I did at the United Nations. If somebody said, what's the best gig I ever played? I'd say at the UN in front of the General Assembly. And it truly was. It's right up there with the Hellfire Caves in High Wycombe for the wedding of my friend Yuliana Galitskaya and Alec Mahler. Look at that. That's the marriage of heaven and hell, from the United Nations General Assembly to the Hellfire Caves, which are this peculiar, under a church, under a deconsecrated church, passageways going down pretty deep into the bowels of the earth, where this libertine society used to meet in the 19th century, led by a renegade priest named Sir Joseph Dashwood. And among members of the Hellfire Club were folks like Benjamin Franklin, yes, the very honorable honorable Benjamin Franklin, and they got up to all sorts of tricks down there. They had kind of paganistic meetings, and they imported, let's say, entertainment. When I went to the wedding, they had this whole thing decked out. The guy was serving a giant pig on a stick and a roasted spit with an apple in its mouth, and they had all sorts of revelry going on. Inside it was pretty tame, but I did get to do a very psychedelic set down there. It was cold. But it's also haunted. I mean, the cables that power the electricity that lit the place up mysteriously moved overnight. There was a path in the silk dust that had collected off the ceiling that floats down in there that left an impression of the cable. And apparently the night after we were there was a second pathway like it had mysteriously been moved by who? By what? Not a human hand. I don't think could handle all this. Anyway, it's kind of a creepy but beautiful place. I recommend highly a visit to the Hellfire Caves if you're going to London and you want to see something pretty off the beaten path and cool. All right, so this is, I got about 2 minutes, a version of one of my favorite composers, the great Leos Janáček. It's number 15 Allegro from his great suite of piano pieces called On an Overgrown Path, which he started around 1904 and finished in 1908. And I played this at the UN for Holocaust Remembrance Day. There it is. There it was. And pleasure playing for you today. as always. And I'll see you on Tuesday. Rain or shine. Please tune in. And have a great rest of the weekend. And keep the faith. Okay, love you guys. Bye now.